Well, can you predict accurately the winning score in tomorrow's semi-final? You would say not. The guys at Principa, that's an algorithm company, were spot on when they predicted we would beat Wales by a margin of 4 points. Well, could have made some money on that. I would have made a lot more money if we'd put money on Japan beating the Springboks. Anyway, Johan van Biljon is the lead data scientist at Principa, and that's the company we're talking about. Joining me from our Cape Town studios. Hello, Johan. I'm told you're a data analytics and software consulting company, which sounds pretty dry and IT kind of stuff. But your claim to fame is that you did predict the result of the Welsh match, that we would win by 4 points. How did you do this?
Yes, so thanks for having me on the show, David. I think a little bit of background on Principa. We've been doing business in Cape Town since the 1990s. We're actually part of the Transaction Capital Group that's listed on the JSE. So as you said, we are a data analytics consulting and software company. And what we do is we try to use predictive analytics and machine learning to try and solve our customers' problems. So that means trying to understand and predict customer behavior across the credit life cycle and into many different spheres of both the banking world, the retail world, and even the telcos.
Well, superbrew.com, that's what you've got involved with. It's a sports prediction site. I'm not sure if it's connected with betting, and as we were saying a moment earlier, wouldn't we like to have bet on that Japan match? Put 1,000 rand on that, you'd be a rich man now. It was something like 300 to 1 or whatever it was. So is this a kind of trivial side pursuit for you, or is it serious, trying to predict the outcome of sports fixtures?
Yeah, so I think from our side, we have two internal analytics teams, and where the Superbrew thing came about is we said, let's see if we can put these two teams against each other and have them go out and try and build models to predict the outcome of each individual Rugby World Cup match. So we then use machine learning algorithms and predictive analytics, go and gather data of historical games. So we looked at data stretching back for the last 20 years, for about 6,000 different rugby matches and with 99 different teams. And we try to say, what will the winning margin be for each individual game of the World Cup? Where this ties back to machine learning is in the incremental side. So what we did is we said before the World Cup started, as a bit of a test, we'll run it on the previous World Cup. And as each game progresses, we retrain the model. So this is called incremental machine learning. So we have a model in place, and then as soon as a game happens, the model retrains. So it tweaks or adjusts its predictions for the next match as well. So as the World Cup goes on, we get better and better and better. And after a little bit out of time test on the previous World Cup, we found that we had an 85% accuracy rate, so getting 85% of the games right, with an average margin of about 10 points. So we thought we'd do pretty well in this coming World Cup. And that's proven to be the case. So in this current World Cup, we've gotten 91% of the games right. So that's 40 games out of the 44 games played. And that's compared to about 85% by the average person on Superbrew.
When you say,
so that's a tremendous lift.
When you say right, you mean the result right, or the actual score right?
No, so we mean the result right.
Okay.
And our average margin is then quite a bit better than the average person on Superbrew. And that is illustrated in the fact that we at the moment, we're lying in the top 0.5% out of the 250,000 people that do their predictions on Superbrew.
So now the algorithm doesn't know about the brave blossoms from Japan. You couldn't have predicted that result.
No, so what makes it very difficult is for each of these models, same thing we need to do as Principa when we work in the credit space and in the customer behavior predicting spaces. We need both dynamic data and static data. Static data is things that happened in the past. So for example, we'd use recent performance of the two countries, we'd use the world ranking they are at the moment, the number of tries they scored in the past. But then we also need dynamic data and things that will change as the World Cup progresses. So these are things like bookie odds. And in order to bring in some sort of proxy for how the teams are rated at the moment, we brought in fantasy league data. So this is where people would buy players for their fantasy league team. And as more people buy the player, the value of the player goes up. And thus we can say, all right, this team is doing really well because it's got a bunch of expensive players. So that's the type of data that will change after each match, thus making our model more accurate as we go along.
Okay, well, I see on your website you describe yourself as doing data-driven strategies to improve the customer experience. Well, you're going to improve a lot of customer experience if you can predict an outcome tomorrow which is accurate, and is that we beat the All Blacks. What is your prediction based on the algorithms and static and dynamic data and all the things you've been telling me? What's going to happen tomorrow?
So unfortunately, I'm in my Springbok jersey, and this is where my loyalty lies. But the models are saying that the Springboks will lose tomorrow. The one model is saying we'll lose by 7, and the other model is saying we'll lose by 12. So that's not looking too positive. On the other hand, I have been retraining the models.
Sounds like a disaster.
It's a disaster. But what I have seen is that as the week has progressed and the model's been retraining, the margin has been getting closer and closer and closer. So it started off really high and it's come down all the way. So that and the fact that it's going to be raining quite a bit tomorrow evening, hopefully will play in our favor and we'd be able to sneak a win.
That is Johan van Biljon from Principa.